Hey, it's TC Josie, and in this video, I'll be walking through the beginning process of creating a property table, also known as a virtual whiteboard, a spreadsheet, much like Excel. It's just columns with drop-down choices where you can select multiple choices on certain things and have it show up on your virtual whiteboard. This is just the beginning process. If you're interested in really diving deeper into the property tables and best practices, head over to my website, techie.optimize.com, and you can sign up for the property tables group training. And I will walk through, dive really deep into how to do some more advanced stuff with this, but this is the basic setup for it. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to minimize this. The way that I usually like to have the setup part of it is having on the left OTC and on the right the choices that I've mapped out for myself. And I would highly recommend you do this part first, or you say, what is the first milestone? I want to make sure that intros have been out. I either need to send intros. I didn't have the client's email address, so I still need to send the client their intros. I didn't have the co-op's email, the title's email, lender's email, so I'm able to make these or select these when I'm missing them. And then if I've sent all of the intros, I can hit done. If I'm doing maybe a compliance only, I will do not applicable, because in my compliance only, there is no communication. It's strictly compliance, excuse me. So now that you've mapped out all of your different stages, your different milestones, you'll want to go ahead and have it split screen. This is the easiest way, in my opinion. And when you do a split screen, you might see something very similar to this. The first step would be to add a section called milestones. But if I click add section, nothing really happens. Something did happen. The only reason that you're not seeing it is because it shows up at the very bottom, since we don't have much room here. So if you have a ball on your mouse and you click it, you can scroll all the way down and then you'll see that section there. Or you can just go to this little sliver and scroll all the way up and down. So I usually like to just bring this out as far as possible to give it some room so I'm not scrolling up and down. So that's just a little tip there. So I'm going to go ahead and create this, add this section, and I'm going to call it milestones. I've added the section, and now I'm going to start adding my fields. Click add field, and I'm going to start with 3 intros. So there are reasons why I use numbers for just my table columns. If I wanted to rearrange things, I want to make sure that they're back in their order. So I would put numbers in front of them so that I could easily move them to where I want. Like, let's just say I wanted to focus on my septic tasks. I can move the, let's say it's number 10 septic, all the way to the front right before 3, and work on that, do what I have to do. And then when I go to move it back, if you don't have those numbers, you're like, oh, well, where exactly did I have this before? If you have the numbers, you'll be able to put it right where it needs to be. So that's the reason that I have numbers here, and I'm just going to delete these because I already have these two, these fields in my fields here on the left-hand side. So it's going to be a duplicate. It's going to tell me I can't do that. So I'm just going to delete it. So we've got intros. And then we're going to do the field type choice, because it is a choice field. Choice is just the drop down. So you don't really have to do anything here. This multiple selection option, it already defaults to no when you create a new field. So I would just copy, paste, paste, and add new field. You see here it defaulted to no. Perfect. So next, you might want to start from the very bottom. The reason being, you'll see in just a moment, when I'm adding additional fields, they are adding to the top. So if you go ahead and start at the very bottom and work your way to the top, you won't have to go through and rearrange those choices. I'm huge on saving time and not wasting it, so I definitely want to do that. Now that I've got all of my choices here, I want to point out another very important piece to creating these. I'll share more of this in the property tables group training. But in the intake form display options, this allows, I personally do the intake form on behalf of my agent. So I have these options to be filled out at the very beginning in the intake form because it's so much easier to fill out these fields in the intake form than it is in the TC process, and even more so than it is in the transaction itself. So I am going to point out two things that are super important when you are filling or adding these as well. So the intake form display radio options, instead of 1, 2, 3 clicks, that third click is approving the selection. It's allowing you to have radio buttons where it's just click, just like a dot that you select that one and it selects it. So that's an important yes. Also, this one here for table columns like this, when you have multiple selections here, you probably do want to have them stacked. So instead of being horizontal, you'll have them vertical, one on top of the other when you select yes here. And I feel like that's super important. My rule of thumb, if it's 2 options, if it's 1 or 2 options, radio buttons. If it's more than 2 options, stack them. It just looks a lot more clean. Imagine need, client, co-op, title, lender, done, all in one row. It's just, it's way too long. It doesn't really make sense visually. So more than 2, just have it be the stacked option. So we will go ahead and hit I understand and update, since after we added this, we've changed this one and this one. You will want to update that and go ahead and hit there. And then we'll go on to the next one. Add field, we're going to copy the invites, and this is just whether the calendar invitations have been sent. And I'm going to do the same thing, remove that number since I already have that field in here. Choice field, add field, start from the bottom, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, come down here. Intake form, radio, yes. Stacked, yes. I understand, update. I'll just do one more just to see the flow of it. Copy, delete the number, select all with Control A, Control C is copy, Control V is paste, choice, add field, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy. Oh, that's actually, that probably shouldn't be there. Good catch. Cut, paste. Okay, so we've got our revisions there. This should probably be NA. That's what probably should be there. So I'm just going to add this one here because at the very beginning of the transaction, the closing date probably hasn't changed yet. So the closing column is probably not applicable at the very beginning. Back down here, yes to radio, yes to stacked, I understand, and update. So now that you're, kind of starting at the bottom and going upwards, so I would just go ahead and rearrange those, which you will have. Let me go ahead and move that here. I'm just going to go and rearrange. You're going to have those numbers, which are going to come in handy a lot of times when it comes to this stuff. So you'll be able to put them in the right place. So once you go ahead and add all of your field columns, when you finish inputting all of those things. Another thing that you'll want to kind of keep in mind is these purple stars. This allows it to be shown in the client portal or the agent portal. So when it comes to updates on certain things, like whether earnest money has been deposited, you might want the agent to know what's going on with that. So if you have it as a purple star, it will show on the agent and client portal. This is a great way to update them. They can access this on their agent portal in their phone as well. So the app that OTC has. So this is a great way to share and keep updates for them. You can have these fields go into email templates as well. So if you wanted to have updates based on these fields, you totally could. There is so much that you can do with these fields once they're in here. I'm not even going to get into the triggers, but this right here is the number one thing that kind of makes the automated trigger plan. It really sets it up. Once you've got this going, I'm sure one of these days I may do a very advanced trigger and property table class. But for the time being, I think just getting our property table together is super important. So that is the beginning process of creating all of your table columns, just choice fields with all of your choices. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, you can go to tcoptimize.com to sign up for the in-depth overview of property tables and learn how to set it up from beginning to end. And we will go from there. Thanks for joining me, and I hope this helped. Have a great one.